Hey guys, it's Gabe Eltaeb here. It's Two Sketchy Guys, episode 12. I'm going to have to clip off the beginning of the show because it played the intro for my other show, Double Impact. It automatically played that and it wouldn't let me quit it. Sorry about that, Bill. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
pretty good, pretty good.
I'm going to keep that setting off. That was the setting I I had for the Tuesday night show with Jericho, but I got to keep that off.
Oh yeah, no, it's a whole different
Yeah.
vibe on
But
that.
yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, good to see you again. I
Yeah,
want to talk about some different stuff about work. I wanted to talk about, I have a weird thing, and I wonder if you had it. I
yeah.
have a weird nostalgia for like my parents' generation's time. Like I'm fascinated by the concept of what it would have been like to be like a baby boomer, to be there. And as you know, my favorite band is the Beach Boys. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
sincerely, I know everything about the Beach Boys. I've read all the autobiographies. I have a zillion albums. I just watched the Eiger Sanction the other day. Clint Eastwood, he's a former like CIA operative assassin, and he has to assassinate someone on the Eiger Mountain in Switzerland. You ever seen this?
No, I haven't actually, but I know the Eiger Mountain in Switzerland.
Yeah, it's the Eiger Sanction. It's not bad, and I don't know. I just Clint Eastwood, he's gonna be 96 this spring,
Oh
96
man,
years old.
yeah,
And he's still around, born in 1930. And I was like, oh my God, he's gonna be 100 soon. He's probably
yeah.
gonna
Well,
make it to 100.
he's got some great quotes, man. He's just. I always like the Spanish fistful of dollars. I always like the old, you know. I listen to that music a lot. It just reminds me out west. And when I in California, I mean that was Spanish in a sense of like my wife went to Spain one time when she was younger, and she said she felt like she was in California.
Yeah,
It's really amazing. So I mean, but all the way those films were done were I love doing the backstory in those, how they were made, and they got some really good character stuff in there.
yeah, it's funny, that movie, A Fistful of Dollars. Um, they got sued because it was Yojimbo,
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
Akira Kurosawa movie. But Akira Kurosawa based Yojimbo off of Red Harvest, the novel by Dashiell Hammett,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And then Dashiell Hammett based that off of real life experience when he was
Right.
doing some
Oh
Pinkerton
yeah.
detective work.
Well,
So,
for the young kids, a fistful of dollars back then was silver dollars.
right,
Now, a fistful
right,
of dollars is paper or a credit card.
right.
Right. So, and they really played up that thing where the coin rolls and spins,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of little details in there that says a lot about the characters.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I want to talk to you about that because of those layouts. Thank you so much for sending them to me. But since you mentioned this, I have to show this map that I looked up earlier this year.
Yeah.
This map of the world, obviously, the purple are the only places in the world that have Mediterranean weather. Even though
Oh.
there's other land in those bands, those
Oh yeah.
latitudinal bands,
Right.
they don't all have it. I mean, most of America sits in that band, but because of the ocean and the mountains and in the weather patterns, you only get this perfect San Diego weather in a few spots on Earth. So when your
Right.
wife said she went to Spain, look at Spain. Most of
Oh
that
yeah.
country,
Yeah.
most of that country is purple. Italy, Spain.
And she went to Morocco too. So I mean, it's the same. It's that whole area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we are
And
very lucky.
I had a friend that wanted to, Roland Wilson, who was working at Disney as a designer, and he was trying to figure out where he wanted to retire. And he looked at that. He
Really?
basically said the only place he wanted to go was a little bit, he thought maybe Corpus Christi down in Texas, but it's too many storms. But he
Yeah.
picked San Diego, and he's just up the road from where you are. He passed away. But when I went down to Carlsbad, every time I go down there, it's just gorgeous.
You
Um,
can't beat it.
no, I
People.
got you.
Yeah, I mean, you lived in California for decades, so
Yeah.
and it's only gotten worse in the last 10, 20 years, the reputation that California has. But us Californians that are here and thriving, like myself, we kind of snicker at people that make fun of California. Because what I realized, and it's a lot of Americans, oh, you Californians. But I tell other Americans, the way other people talk about America and they badmouth it, and you as an American know that it's not true.
Yeah. Right.
That's
Right.
exactly how other Americans talk about California. They talk about it the way other people talk about America. And in your head, it's like, no, I'm an American. I know it's not that way. And it's like, no, I'm a Californian. It is wonderful to live here. We do have a stupid Democrat supermajority government, and it does cause some trouble. it's worth it to live here. It's just the most beautiful place in the world.
Oh
If
yeah. Yeah.
if you like something like topographically, if you like any type of weather, we have it. You want to go skiing? The tallest mountain in America is not in Colorado. It's in Alaska, but in the lower 48, the tallest mountain is in California. It's
Yeah.
Mount Whitney, right?
Whitney. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the lowest elevation in America, I think in the world, is Death Valley. It's the
Yeah.
lowest elevation. We have, I think we have every type of land here, beaches, deserts, forests. We have everything in California except for swamps. We have some lagoons. It's not the same, but I think we have
Right.
everything except for swamps. So
Well,
if you
don't you
like
get
it,
that? You
we
get that
have
once a year with the rain, right?
it. Say it again.
You get it once a year with the rain.
Well, you know what? We had record rainfall in
I
January,
know.
December,
Yeah.
and the entire state, for the first time since I think my childhood, none of it is under a drought watch. So
Wow. Wow. And the
I
other
think
thing you miss when you're talking about California is the agricultural. You can get all fresh food there. That's the other thing my
if
friend
it feeds
Roland
the
was saying.
world, that
You
that
get
Central Valley,
You can
it
go
feeds the world.
grapes, oranges, pecans, and you can get and you can go to tamales. I mean, you can get like every great food there.
I'm sure you've driven from Southern California to Northern through the valley, through the
Oh yeah,
Central Valley,
yeah,
up
yeah,
that grapevine there. I've
yeah,
only done it twice, and I only did it recently. It was like 10 years ago the first time I did it, and I couldn't believe what I saw. We drive through Tehachapi or Tehachapi, and you drive
yeah.
through Bakersfield and up to all those amazing places.
Well,
And
the other thing about California is because when it became a state and when it people started to migrate there, first it was the West for the gold up in Northern California, but
yeah,
then the movie business down in Southern California, everybody left because it was the lighting was they didn't have really tremendous electrical stuff they have now, but the lighting was very, very normalized so they can intercut their shots.
mm,
So a lot of stuff they went from the East Coast and the weather, so they can now extend their production time like for a full year. Where in
oh,
out west,
because
yeah,
we have better weather, and we're further
yeah,
south than New York, New Jersey. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so we have
and
longer
and then
days.
when they went ahead and started building warehouses, they had those in Queens when they're doing the old black and white films like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, but they moved that out to California, and then all the films are done out there because they just perpetually can just shoot films.
Wow.
So that the weather changed the industry. It opened up around 1912, and then it just cooked until about 1940 or 50. And then in 50, like you were talking about the baby boomers, the military contractors out there for the ships and the planes and all aerospace, they started to bring a lot of workers out there to work on this stuff, like Lockheed and different
Oh
things in
yeah,
Bank. So everybody migrated out there. They gave them all brand new houses, really cheap, and then it started to expand. And in the 1960s, they expanded all the freeways. So
right.
it went from little roads to like massive during Eisenhower's time.
Right. Yeah,
So
Eisenhower has that
yeah,
interstate freeway system,
right, right. No,
So,
exactly.
but
And a
yeah,
lot,
no, there's so much industry in Southern California, building military stuff. You're right. Here in San Diego, we have an area. It's like Kearny Mesa, kind of Claremont, and Raytheon, General Electric. So many defense contractors are here because the
right.
city, I believe, in the entire world, but for sure America, that has the most military is San Diego.
Oh yeah.
Over a quarter of the population here is military. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
went into
So, and
Coronado.
that's why the sports teams here never
Yeah.
had strong fan bases. The Padres do.
Right.
But I went to Charger games. And if you
Right.
go to a
Right.
Charger game, whatever the visiting team is the majority of the crowd.
Yeah.
And my
Right.
my
Right.
wife's a native. My wife was born here. And I asked her, what's the deal with that? And then she said, because none of you are from here. And you move here and then you root for the Broncos. I'm like, oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Like in
Right.
San
Right.
Diego, some people they join the military and they come from somewhere else.
Well, I went
So
into Coronado. I was talking to a lot of different Navy guys. It used to be kind of just a uh, kind of a low end kicking around in the 40s where they go out there and just be hitting the bars and all that stuff. Now
yeah.
it's like Beverly Hills. I went in Coronado and it was like, what the heck?
Coronado is Richie Rich, man. And for those of you that don't know, Coronado is an island off the coast of San Diego, but there's a bridge that leads to it, the Coronado Bay Bridge. And it's an island, like, it's a mile from the coast, right? And it is where North Island, the Navy base is, and that's where the Navy SEALs and all that train. So there's
Right.
a base on North Island, but then there's also housing. Not much, I would guess a ballpark guess, 5 or 10,000 people live in Coronado, but it's you got to take a bridge to get there. It's a little
Well,
island off the
when
coast.
you do go in there and you get up on top of that bridge, and I've done it many, many times. I love going out there. Then you see a lot of the ships of manufacturing, and I think now they're building battleships and stuff like that. They're not going to build them and try and get them through the Panama Canal or bring them down around the Cape of Good Horn in South America. They're going to build them, I think, at San Diego, and
Yeah,
that bring a lot of employment out there. That all the stuff that they're building. It's now what was interesting is the displacement for a destroyer out there is 40 feet. The
yeah,
the San Diego Bay is only 40 feet deep. Now they
yes,
must be bottom out on some of the stuff where you got to realize 40 feet is like 4 times the height of a house, right?
yeah,
Your house is about 10 foot tall. So when you have these ships out there, I can't understand how they get in with a 40-foot displacement. So I'm just saying that there's so many ships out there, so much work. And when I went out to the Coronado Hotel, had lunch out there, you look out and there is yachts out there that are just astounding.
yeah.
The
So
yacht,
this right here, this is Coronado. What I'm circling, this is the
yeah,
island here. So the
right.
bridge, and there's a bridge right here. It's a famous, gorgeous bridge. The Coronado Bay Bridge goes right there. So it's not far at all from the actual downtown of San Diego, which is right here. You can obviously see it. It's quarter mile or less. So
Right. But
but
look at where all the boats from the Pacific and the yachts and everybody's just kind of. I went out there. There must have been 100 yachts and big, massive boats from all different countries
well,
coming.
the cruise ships and all that are
Cruise
there.
ship. Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you walk down the harbor here, the harbor is such a beautiful place there. But if you walk down this harbor out
yeah,
here on these sort of piers and stuff where the cruise ships and all that come in, there's plaques and there's a historical thing outdoors with like sort of like plaques and posters that kind of write the history of and they dredged so much of this out.
yeah. Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
they dredged so much of the sand out to build this. I love California. I love San Diego. I romantically just love the Golden State. I wasn't born here, but I came here right after my 8th birthday. I'm going to be 8 this summer. So I guess 40 years ago, this coming summer, I
wow,
came here and I just love it. It's the best place in the world to live. And I've explored so little of it. I've
yeah,
spent most of my time in Southern California. Like I've only been to Northern California 4 or 5 times. Like I got to
yeah,
get up there. And I've never really been past Tahoe, San Francisco. And the funny thing about California, and you know this, Bill, again, you lived here. We call San Francisco Northern California. But let's look at a map here. This is everyone's geography lesson there. So this is California from here to Mexico. San Francisco, Northern California, it's the middle. It's actually mid-California. We
yeah,
call it the northern end, but if you get to San Francisco, there's another 400 miles of like basically wilderness before you get to Oregon. I
yeah.
don't know what's up there, redwood forests and things, and
Yeah, I
a
went
bunch
in.
of
I went up there for when I was working on one of the films, and you could park a truck. I had an SUV, a very large SUV. We could drive underneath inside a tree that had burned, and they had gored it out in 1930s,
right.
20s. And we went through. I couldn't believe it. I said, "How? Why is this big sequoia trees were just phenomenal? They're prehistoric."
Have you seen like the General Sherman and all that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
You
it's
got
the
to see.
biggest tree in the world. I went and saw it with my wife like 3 or 4 years ago, and it
Yeah.
doesn't look real. When you're
Oh yeah.
driving up there, the trees start to get a little bit bigger and bigger, and you see those government signs entering Sequoia Redwood Forest. This is about probably 5 or 6 hours north of where I live, San Diego. Because Bakersfield's about 3 hours, and it's like another hour or two from Bakersfield. And you start getting up these mountainy roads and winding, and then the trees get bigger and bigger to the point where the General Sherman, I think, is over 30 feet wide at the base. And it's
I
300 and something feet tall. I mean, some of its
right.
branches up there are the size of giant trees, its
Wow.
branches. It's
Well, when I was
insane.
even in San Bernardino, living up in the mountains you could see the snow in the mountains from where you are in San Diego. And in the distance, the pine trees up there, the national forest, I lived up there, which is fresh air, is beautiful. The pine cones are about the size of your head, my head.
Yeah.
They drop out of the trees, they dent your car. You really had to watch where you parked.
Yeah,
It
there's
was
those sugar pine trees, and they have
sugar
giant
pine,
cones. Yeah,
huge. I couldn't
yeah.
believe. I'd hear those things. I thought it was a bear falling out when I first heard it out of a tree. It went doom, 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 boom, and it was running down through the hills because when it hits, it rolls, and it
Oh,
has the spikes on it, so it locks into the ground, and then
right.
it seeds out.
Right. Speaking of a bear, I'm gonna have to send you some links. Just randomly on my YouTube, it suggested to me this reporter who I think in the last month or so, because it was some
Yeah.
recent stuff they talked about, interviewed Michael Eisner, your old boss.
Wow.
And it was probably hours and days they spent together. And he put it on YouTube as like 6 or 7 minute short videos.
Yeah.
And they talked about this and that. And I saw one last night. It was like a 6 minute video with his wife, Michael Eisner's wife.
Yeah.
She's the one who came up with, you just won the Super Bowl and you're the MVP, John Elway. What are you doing next? I'm going to Disneyland. His wife thought of that. And the way she thought of it was they were visiting friends in Florida, some others, I think George Lucas, and they said some people from NASA who had just gone up to the space shuttle, blah, blah, blah. They were some, elite kind of rich people. And the wife asked one of the couples, like, well, what are you guys doing next? They're like, oh, we're going to Disney World. And when she heard that, she's like, wow, that sounds really good. That sounds like a commercial. So since Disney, they do deals, they make commercials, they're paying the NFL to be on the Super Bowl. He said 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, we came up with that. And we paid Phil Simms, New York Giants, $35,000. It was the first thing he had to say when interviewed after the MVP had to say when interviewed after the game.
Wow.
So, and remember, that was like a running joke back in the 80s and the 90s. They no longer do it, but it used to be, hey, Phil Simms, you just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? He's like, I'm going to Disneyland, and
well, when you're the CEO, they'll cordon off a certain part of the park. You're not going to wait in line. You just go in the ride as many times as you want, and then you leave and they close, and then they let everybody back. So it's a lot of fun to go to Disneyland if you got certain passes.
Right. Are you now, as an alum who worked there for years, do you still have a lifetime pass to Disneyland?
Yes, I do.
And it's just you, or like you and your wife, or what?
No, my wife, and we have other things, but
you and your wife and your co-podcast host and his family, and
right. But when we get out there again,
well, my granddaughter has fallen in love with Star Wars.
Oh wow!
She finally saw it. She saw it like a year and a half ago when she was 1.5 years old. Didn't really understand it. It was like, wow, but she saw it 2 weeks ago. And she can't get over it. She wants to watch it every day. And it's so funny. We talk about the quality of things and wokeness and left wing and the modern people ruining the old classic stories. And we let her see the first three, the 70s and 80s ones. And then yesterday, my daughter tried to put on the 1999 one. And she got about 20 minutes into it. And she's like, where's Luke? Where's Luke? And she's like, I want to watch the other one.
Yeah, wow.
She did turn it off.
Video with her doing the lightsabers. That was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
Well, you texted me this morning to jump online. And it was like I was in the middle of a lightsaber battle and having coffee. So I had to be a little bit late. But I got those 2 lightsabers on Amazon for like $35.
Well, they sound good when you hit them. It's like,
Yeah, they flash and make noises when you hit them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Really love that stuff. And, some of the stuff that they again, a child's dream is the imagination they put into it. So
I just see her lost in her imagination, and you do this, and now you're the good guy, and you're the bad guy, and just going on. I was just like that as a kid. I was giving stage directions to my friends constantly.
Wow, when you took her out to the train ride the other day, you were talking, and blow the whistle was so cool. I still don't understand how those wooden sticks of wood make it sound like a whistle from a train. But,
Yeah, she was all decked out. The train engineer cap, the scarf, and the whistle. So
wow, no, that's something. And everybody at Walt Disney, Ward Kimball, Ollie Johnston, Frank Thomas, all the top guys love trains.
Yeah, Walt Disney, he had that train on his property, and that's why Disneyland has that train. He loved riding the train and all that. And
that was his. Actually, they made a mold off of his train and put it on Main Street Disneyland. And so that came from a plantation in Hawaii. It was shipped over and restored.
Wow! Like a pineapple thing, right? Like a pineapple.
Yes, it was. Right.
Yeah, I watched a lot of documentaries about Walt Disney, and you never know. If you want to know if the news is fake, Bill, be the news. I've
Yeah.
been interviewed for like my alumni magazine, and I've been in the news a couple times. And what you'll immediately realize is, oh, it's all fake news. There's a name for this. It's called Gell-Mann amnesia, and it's when you forget that you see a news story that you're an expert on, the true story of Roger Rabbit, and then you watch it, Bill, and it's all BS, right? Because you were there, you animated Roger Rabbit, and you watch the true story of Roger Rabbit, and it's all bull. But the amnesia of this psychological effect comes in. You watch other news stories, and you don't realize, oh, it isn't just my story where the news is making
Oh
things up.
yeah.
It's all of them. So if
Well,
you
you
ever
know,
want
it's
to know if the
funny.
news is fake, be in the news and watch your story get told. You're like, I didn't say that.
Well, I'm
You know,
I'm very good with history and stuff, and I use it for my work and everything. But the thing, I'll watch a YouTube on something, and they'll have all these photographs done with AI that basically have nothing to do. It's
right?
not people in the history, but they're not talking, and they do a watermark. But basically, what do you say? I said that's not from here. That's this group or that group, and it's not working. It's like, why? And they're actually believe it makes you believe that's what you're watching. Again, just what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not
Yeah.
great. I wanted to switch gears though because we were talking about Coronado, and I wrote that short story to introduce this new character I'm coming up with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he wrote me all these notes, and I only glanced at them on my phone. I'm going to go over them this morning. But
Yeah.
I really liked how you started talking about make the environment its own character. And then,
Yes.
like, there's a whole back history to this environment. Because to me, it's a 15-page intro story. And there's a warehouse down by the docks by Coronado Bridge in San Diego where the bad guys are interrogating a guy they have hostage. And if you're just writing it at surface level, it's like it's a warehouse, whatever. There's some
Yeah.
crates, there's some freight, there might be a machine or two, and
Right.
that's it. But you're like, no, no, no. They have a card table. Maybe they do illegal pit fighting in here. Maybe
Yep.
like
Yep.
make it lived in. And I love that. I love that concept. And I know that, but it wasn't prominent in my head.
Well,
Is that one of the main things they taught you at Disney? Is like, we're going to make these worlds like real lived in worlds. Like, what was the emphasis on the background, not just being this whatever generic background?
well, the background is going to tell you it's something about the character you didn't know. Okay.
Okay.
And basically, when a character interacts, okay, if you had a character in outer space, that's what most people do. It's just the background, there's black space, there's
Right.
nothing. So they have the character perform with no connection. Okay, that's outer space. But in truth, people live where they like to live, and their business is part of what surrounds them. So when you do, I don't draw layouts right away. I spend a day to absorb myself in where the characters can be placed, where they're, why would they be there?
Right.
What do they do on their free time in there? Right. And what says something about them that you don't know about them within the layout. And then when they do something interactive with that part of the layout, you learn something, right? So let's say they had a cage fighting in there with a warehouse or a set of weights. You're going to hear the bang bang of the weights, and or somebody just doing some hoofing and huffing like Rocky in the cage fighting. And basically what it is um, while they're waiting for shipments, I'm doing this whole story before I do the story. Right. So they're waiting. I'm talking about the background, not the characters. And what this guy is walking through as a main character, he's interacting with his employees, he's doing things. This is before I do layouts. Right. I do
Right.
exploratory. Then I'm like, okay, within the layout, where is the camera? I'm thinking live action, but I'm thinking, where's the camera facing when this guy is the middle of the floor? Okay, maybe with interrogating this guy. And I'm looking at, okay, we got a skylight from the top. Okay, that's great. But if it's at night, the skylight might put a grid over top of this guy. So it's subtext of being in jail, right?
Right. Right.
Or you have coming out of the darkness into the light doing an interrogation. And I'm thinking of all this. So then I'm flying around like a mini drone around all different staging angles to get the personality, whether it's extremely close where he's yelling into his ear, right? Or whether his hands, when this guy gets beat by the guy on the top, his hands react to it. And you just see the hands react. You don't have to see the full character do it, right? And you want to get all of these little subtle things of how he's tied to the chair. He might have jail chains on his ankles. How seriously these guys locked this guy up. There's so much backstory. So I spend a day looking at this before I start my drawings. And then
Mm.
when
Now,
you
see,
draw
that's
like
one.
you've
Oh, go
done.
ahead. Sorry. Say it
Yeah.
again. I cut you off.
No, that's right. I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I spoke. I couldn't hear you.
No, that's right. No. It's just all it is just think before you do.
Okay. Yeah, because so this is why, I got into the Don Bluth class. I paid for my classes. They sent me a welcome packet. They told me some stuff I need to buy. And then they went over the syllabus. I looked at the syllabus. It's an entire year. It's
Oh
a
yeah.
whole year, and there's
Yeah.
only 2 weeks off. So it's every Wednesday.
Right.
And we only skip Christmas and New Year's. But I'll tell you what it is. Draftsmanship for 6 weeks,
Yeah.
intro to animation 6 weeks after that, animation timing 6 weeks, the art of storyboarding 6 weeks, the art of layout 3 weeks, principles of acting 14 weeks.
Yep.
Pulling faces, mugging, blah blah blah. Anyway, let's see. Producing a short 9 weeks, and the master class is 1 week at the end with the graduation and all that. So I'm really excited because when you talk about comics, see, you didn't come up in comic books. I know you liked them, but you didn't like try to become a comic book artist. You became an animator. Comic books in American tradition have a lot of bad culture in it. And the two things that I think are really bad is backgrounds are kind of hated and dumped out whenever they can be. In comic books, people don't like to draw backgrounds. Artists are always criticized for it, and artists always feel like it's a chore. And the concept of designing beautiful lived-in backgrounds is the opposite of comic book culture, which I think is terrible. The Bat Cave. Think about Batman's Bat Cave. He's got his vehicles and his trophies from the villains he's defeated. He's got that big Tyrannosaurus Rex statue, the giant penny that's like 30 feet tall. That's cool that he has the Bat Cave, and you should work on the backgrounds. The other thing in comics that is like horrible culture is I did it myself. No mentors, no layouts, nobody's doing underdrawings for you to then draw on top to get better. Like that it's all ego in comics and really insecurity. It's an insecurity of I did this all myself, which is foolish. No human being does anything themselves completely. We're all stand on the shoulders of giants. So this is why I think that final piece from me, even though I've, worked for Disney, Warner Brothers, everyone, I am not good enough for me yet. I'm good enough. Like, obviously, I'm a professional and it looks great what I do. But I think that final missing piece that I've always been looking for is the culture of animation. And I told you when I worked at DC Comics, I would work with other artists. I would color their work or this or that. And I always noticed the animators had this thing in their work that the comic book guys didn't have. This zip, this life, this ingenuity, this creativity that the comic book guys just did not have. So that's why I just feel privileged. I mean, Don Bluth, I think the guy Lavelle is his assistant. I called him and talked to him again over there at the Don Bluth University. He said Don's 88, but he's still all there. He's sharp as a tack, still in very good health. And I cannot wait to be his student and pick his brain. I'm excited.
He's one of the last connecting tissues to Walt Disney. I mean, I know a couple of people that are in their 90s plus, but they're going away. And to learn from an individual that was there and understand you got a chance of a lifetime.
Yeah. So he was in his 20s when Walt Disney was still alive, right?
Yeah. Right.
So he would have been there in the office with Walt. And I think you told me that he was there on Sleeping Beauty and some other stuff.
And he actually was going to be in charge of the training program there.
Why he made his own company? He just had too many of his own ideas?
Well, what it is he wanted to do Secret and Nim. He had different views of what the studio was making, and that was kind of a change in how the studio was putting out films. And he just went one direction and went to another. And a lot of the artists who were younger wanted to go in the new direction because it was kind of a split. So, but it wasn't.
Was it contentious or was it amicable?
I think it was kind of. They thought maybe the studio would close when he left.
Oh wow!
He took a lot of people.
Oh.
Well, they didn't. He didn't take them. they were willing to work with him in the future and thought, this is great. I love what your approach on this. And so his training program was part of when somebody started with him, they were trained to work with him, which is what they always did at Walt Disney. They would
Yeah.
say when I first went there, we want you to know how to draw. We want you to know how to do quick sketches, and we will teach you how to animate the way we animate.
Right.
So
Okay.
teach you about acting. So we would have acting classes. We would have animal drawing classes. We'd have real animals come in. I would go down to the polo grounds and draw polo games and horses. Every day was drawing, and you don't stop at your day's work. You're always looking at other people's drawings, how they animated, and then you got dailies. Once a day, you'd see pencil tests, which is just astounding of how the drawings you did are interacting with the backgrounds, how
Right.
the characters are acting. And it just became like, wow, moving drawings. Once you start to move drawings, and you'll see, you can't go back. It's like you've
Right.
created life. Once you take your characters that you're going to work with Don Bluth and go ahead and start to see them move, you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is like amazing. I take 3 drawings, the magic of how to bring drawings to life. That's what it's a resurrection of stuff.
Yeah. It seems it is magic. I remember doing it as a little kid. I had some children's book, and in the corner, I drew a car. Well, on the bottom, I drew a car on the bottom of one page, and over the course of like 70 pages, this little car went up. It hit the edge of the page and did a flip and fell. And then I would
Yeah.
just flip it with my thumb. I must have been 7 or 8 years old doing that.
Well, we used to do that with phone books, right?
Right.
Well, you don't get phone books anymore. But when they
Right.
came in, they were kind of junky. But you could put a drawing in one and just draw one on every page, and the thing would move. It was
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah. It's
Well, I'm
magical.
glad you're learning from Don. He's a top talent. So
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like he's one of the best out there. So he's a legend, and I think that's what you got to do. And I don't resent, but I guess I regret that the culture of comics that I grew up in was very insecure, ego based. Of did it all myself. Now I've never been that way. I've always naturally gravitated towards. No, I want mentors. I want guys older and more experienced, like Philippe Briones, fellow Disney animator with you. He's the main guy that I employ to draw my comics besides myself drawing them. He just
yeah.
sent me a cover just now while we were on the air, 2 covers for the Dean Cain All-American Lawman Volume 2. They're gorgeous. I'm not going to share them right now.
Oh no,
I'll show them to you off the air, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
show them, recording.
Well, the one
But
thing
he knows so much. He knows so much,
Yeah.
and he mentors me and tells me how to improve my work all the time.
the one thing is, like, I was an animator at Disney's first, and then assistant animator, did animation. But it was something to where I had great interest in learning everything. So I wanted to learn the backgrounds. I wanted to learn,
Yeah.
and then I realized, wait, I could still put my character keys like a comic within the background, so I can do character and backgrounds.
Right.
And then I could do character performance. But in comics, it's like you're doing key poses, right? You're doing
Yeah.
one pose that states the story. And that
Right.
basically really close to animation, because you have to do your first key to describe the action. And then you're breaking it down. And how does it get there? You're making a moving picture.
What you're taught in comics is, the in-betweens.
Yeah.
Never draw that in a comic book. You draw
Right.
the extremes of action. You draw the picture winding all the way up, or you
Yep.
draw the picture with all of his follow through throwing the fastball. You never draw this. You never draw any of these. They're boring. They don't say enough about what's happening. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's in animation. You will draw those 2 poses. You're just talking exactly the same. And that other stuff is like what they talk about in computer motion blur. They just got to ride between those 2 drawings. So one of the tricks in animation is key to key. So you're drawing those 2 poses. You got to draw those really good, right?
Yeah.
You got to make them believable. And again, like you say, the stuff in the middle is only how you're going to move from. Are you going to be slowing in, slowing out? Coming into a pose or bang into it? It's all timing at that point. And
I saw. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm just saying timing. And actually, it's so funny because in comics, it's really, really similar. When you open a page in a comic, you have about 3 seconds to see where you want to look. And usually looking eye level in the middle of the page, and you're looking right dead center. and then you're going to flip the page in a couple of seconds or you read through it. But certain things are going to catch your eye, and you're moving through your story like storyboards in a comic. So you're going to find a lot of parallels between what comics were and what you're learning from Don.
Right.
But it's moving the comic is what you're going to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into it because I think that character acting and the background stuff, making the background have its own character and tell its own story, is just missing from the culture of comic books.
Well, you can literally, when you get a close up, there's really nothing. Again, when some of the stuff I sent you, but when you get a close up, you don't want to have complexity to it. You want to just color card, right?
Right.
Just like in a comic. Then if you have a master shot, you want to describe everything in there, just like Spielberg Back to the Future. They show the entire square before they start. But what happens, you see the clock, you see the deli, you see the car that, they're going to dump the crap in, and you see the whole story without knowing you have now in a world that you believe in. So
Yeah.
what you're everything is layered, everything is a piece of the one thing.
Right. And it just can't be, here's your establishing shot of the down by the docks and the Coronado Bridge. You also have to add, like you're saying, character and storytelling to it a little bit. So here's the establishing master shot, and here's a little subtle thing that's also telling the story too. It's also adding character and all that to it.
Well, you're not gonna, like, again, some of the stuff, you just don't start a movie with like bang, you're there. You could, but mostly you're warming. People have left the street in their cars, their families came to the theater, and they're thinking about what they got to do after they're at the theater. They're not in the mood. So you got to slow it in to make people get into the world you're getting into, and then have an inciting incident with a character that brings something like, oh, who is that? What's going on? Why is this happening? And then you're in the movie. And then if you're in the movie well enough, you forget the outside world. And when the movie's over, it's like, wow, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah.
You've got to, it's all based on animation and all the live. It's very close to live action, but you got to bring the people in, just like your granddaughter. They got to like the characters so much they miss them.
Yeah. I would say this about doing the hard work. Seneca, the great philosopher, he had that quote, "We suffer more in imagination than reality." And I don't know what that is about everything in life. I had your sink has the two drains, the one with the disposal and the other one, right? And the other one on my sink, the plumber's putty had worn out. It was probably 30 years old. So I had a drip under my sink. When you put water in that basin, a little bit would get under the strainer itself and drip out. And I bought the parts, or my wife went and bought the part for me. I told her what to get, and a special wrench to pull it off. And it sat on my kitchen table for a week. And I kept telling people, don't drain in that sink. It'll leak a little bit, blah, 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 blah. And last night I came home, we took the granddaughter out. We were out all day. We went to a little dinner. We did this. And it's like 7 p.m. I don't want to do this. I get under the sink. My wife holds, whatever. We fix it in 15 minutes. And it's nothing. But for a week, I kept looking at the bag with the strainer in it and the drain, and I didn't want to do it because it was, it's annoying, and you're under the sink, and the dirty water stinks. And then while you're doing it, it feels like nothing. It's not hard. It's not complicated. And I wonder what that is. And I'm thinking about this, about learning to draw anatomy, learning to draw perspective, learning to make backgrounds have character. All of it sounds hard. It sounds like shoveling rocks. And then when you go do it, it's nothing. Now, with your experience having done it all and been retired, what would you give advice to me or younger people about how you get through that mental hurdle of, I don't want to do this. And then you do it and it's nothing every time that happens. What did you do to combat that? What advice would you give younger people?
Well, you start with just a blank page, right? And it's almost like a pool. You got to jump in there, and you don't know if it's hot or cold. You got to jump in there, and you have this shock of getting from one world to another. And you start to draw, and that's one of the reasons why I sent all the stuff I sent to you. You can see the progression of nothing to something, right? Yeah. That it really was, I'm thinking about the lighting, and what it is once you get into, get past the shock, you got to do it. It's, they were saying about a gym. It's getting through the door is the hard part. Right.
Well, let me ask you one other question. Then we should go. We don't want to go too long. We're 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
One problem I've always fought, and I fight it to this day when I'm drawing, is this impatience of having the beautiful finished piece while I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm in the layout, I'm in the anatomy, I'm in the perspective. I'm like, I want to put the final eyelash and be done. Do you feel that? Because I've talked to other artists and they feel it too. And if you felt it, I hope you felt it, so you can give me some advice here. How do you fight that? I don't want to be in the early layout. I don't want to be in all that. I want to be done. I know that's a wrong mindset. So what do you do about that?
What I do is I find out if I get too close in the detail and somebody wants to change it, I'm cornered and I have a panic. I got to get this done quick. So I immediately go to a very simple minimalist, a couple strokes, and then my imagination fills in that drawing, and I can say right or wrong.
But
Right.
Maybe this is me and not you. Then maybe you don't feel this. How do you feel good about the minimalist drawing? Because when I do the little minimalist, like that's not good enough. It needs to be beautiful and finished on JC Leyendecker polish, and it's not right. I shouldn't be thinking that.
Well, what it is,
I should be okay with the block figure.
I think it's, and I talked to students. I said, you're the one that's judging your drawing. If you like what you're doing, like a kid, you want to draw really good because you want people to like that drawing and not look at you. It's like an insecurity thing. But if you know you're confident in what you're doing and you've got a couple of strokes, it's a communication tool. If a director you work with, you got to render it. That's not really you should be able to show a director something very quick if you work really well with them and say, what do you think about this? Without doing a lot of work. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. You're seeing the picture with a couple lines, and you get to where you want to do with a lot of work without doing a lot of work. And I do think that when people render stuff, it's kind of like an insecurity. They're doing it because they don't want people to think they can't draw.
Right. So what you need to do is not wrap up your worth as a human being in your work.
Yes.
Like the work is good or bad, or it fails or succeeds. I have a worth as a human.
Well, it's almost like I don't care, right? It's like you draw something and show it to somebody, like a kid does. He shows it to somebody and they like it or don't like it. They're not going to say, well, you need to draw more stuff. They just, I love it, right? So you got to get back into the innocence of like a kid. I'm just drawing, and what do you think of this?
Right. Okay.
And as you get older, it's like, well, I got to prove I'm an artist. I have a lot of career. I've done a lot of stuff. I'm doing, do I have to do a full drawing and impress people? And when you get to among friends, you're not.
Yeah.
The other trick is if you see these making of books, they've spent months making it look really good. The truth is that the drawings they're doing is like on tissue paper. They're drawing on napkins at restaurants. There's nowhere. It's a thinking. Then you get a couple people that like to do paintings for backgrounds and stuff, and you get a couple single panels that basically tell the film, and then everybody gets in the dream. But you don't rendering. You can do one drawing in an hour or a day, whereas if you did hundreds and thousands of drawings, you get better and better. So to get better, you gotta draw quicker.
All right. And no ego in it. No ego. No, my worth is tied up in the quality of the drawing. No ego.
And if somebody feels like, well, he's not really drawing that well, you pull out your really good stuff and say, no, I can draw. I want to talk to you with this simple drawing.
Right. Okay. Well, that was a lot. And a lot of useful information. Thank you for sending that PDF along. I'm going to take a look at all that layout kind of concept stuff you sent me for that short story I'm working on. But okay, anything else you want to say, or I guess we got to get out of here?
Just go ahead and get on that saddle and start riding.
All right. Okay, guys, it's Two Sketchy Guys. I'm Gabe Eltaeb. He's Bill Frake. Follow me all over social media. Leave Bill alone. He's retired. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.